Hello, everybody. Welcome to TYT Sports. I'm Ben Mankiewicz. I'm joined by Francis Maxwell, Jason. Yeah, so nothing makes you feel less like a man than a little seat. So not only do we boost the seat, but we get a little. This is how we roll at the Young Turks. We have a little extra help. A little extra.
For the Frodo likes of a
there we go.
There you go.
Now, my man.
Now you feel good.
So Luis Suarez.
Suarez.
Now with Barcelona.
Barcelona.
He's got a book coming out.
Yeah.
Where he says essentially that he was treated worse than a criminal.
Okay.
Defend him for a moment. Why does this make some sense?
It makes sense in England because he was scrutinised for the way he acted. But let's not get me, like, for those that don't know Suarez as much, he was accused of a race issue with Patrice Evra, and he has
What was the accusation there?
He was said to have racially abused him on the field. The logistics of it, I'm not still sure about, but it was actually lip read what he said to him. That it didn't pan off well, and I don't even know if he actually issued an apology to Patrice Evra. They played against each other and they disregarded each other. I don't think he shook his hand either. And this has been issues that it's been surrounded Luis Suarez for his career. He's always been controversial, but this would also roll over and mask how good a player he is in England. I don't think the English media liked him from day one. And he didn't live up to his talent at the start, but then the guy took the lead by storm and has been one of the best players to have ever played in the Premier League. He is fantastic, and he was amazing there. And they still didn't give him, I don't think, the credit he deserved for his football ability, but that sways back and forth because does he deserve it for the way he acts off the field and at times on the field?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Liverpool without Suarez is a whole lot different than with Suarez. And in addition to that, this story seems to be getting tiring, at least. And part of it, he complains that the paparazzi was overwhelming.
Well, let's get into some of the things that he says. First of all, I love it how you defended Suarez there. You didn't mention any time that he, 3 times.
Yeah.
Three bites.
Yeah.
3 bites. So I find it a little ridiculous that he was treated worse than a criminal because criminals generally go to prison and he didn't go to prison.
Yes.
What's his salary at Barcelona?
I think he's on something between equivalent of like $450,000 a week. Maybe.
Right. So he was suspended for 9 games and he missed some international competition. He's still a gazillionaire.
Yeah, he's still
worse than a criminal.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just kill him or castrate him?
The reason I didn't mention his biting is because I think I've talked about it many times, and I talked about how the Court of Arbitration basically adjusted their laws so that he could be somewhat fit, I think, for coming back for the El Clasico, which generated an enormous amount of value because of the way he combined.
Right. I mean, they arranged the suspension so he was back for the big game.
Or not just
not
much as he was back for it, so that he could be somewhat able to play. Because if he wasn't able to compete in any level, then he wouldn't be match fit. He competed in some B games.
And that was one of his complaints, that because they had to avoid the paparazzi, because God forbid the paparazzi would catch him doing anything playing soccer. So anyway, he's written the book, My Life, Luis Suarez, cleverly titled. So again, this is the guy who bit people 3 times. So the article here is written by Jordy Gill in Sport magazine, which I guess is one of your magazines.
I think, because it's not called Sports magazine.
Right.
It's Sport magazine.
Well, we used to have Sport here. I don't know if it's this. It was the big rival in the 1970s and maybe into the 80s to Sports Illustrated was Sport magazine.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, again, for the reasons that you said. Sport. But the great thing is that the article by Jordy Gill is written in Spanish, but Google Translate hands you this, and so I thought I would just share a little bit of this article via Google Translate. It begins as such. Hardly any active player dares to speak unhindered when giving, by the way, note the capitalization of random words that Google Translate gives you. Hardly any active player dares to speak unhindered when giving interviews, or even when I published his first book. All right. Luis Suarez, however be brave and show extremely candid an autobiography published by Planeta, My Life, Luis Suarez, setting out details of how this summer and release it meant a move to FC Barcelona felt. I'll skip down, read you just one more sentence here. With the passage of time, quote, the absurdity of the suspension by FIFA became increasingly evident. Well, they actually got that one. And had to plan everything before carefully assuming the paparazzi or some swollen take a picture of me doing any activity remotely related football. FIFA placed him in an agonizing position and forced him to sign a contract without almost clandestinely to become a public issue. Google Translate is great.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I would say that my brother, when he lived in New York City, he would order from a restaurant called Empire Szechuan, and he would order there 3 times a week, right? Mel, you know Empire Szechuan.
Yeah,
if you know
absolutely.
So,
Best Chinese food in all
so
New York.
he ordered from one on the Upper West Side. He was living at 103rd and West End Avenue, and he ordered from one near there. And he ordered so much that they sent him a VIP card, so you could just call and say, "Hey, I'm number 143," and they would know your address and everything. You didn't have to go through that every time. And it began by saying, "When you are accepting this card, it means to become our VIP." And it was like, I always loved the Chinese translation of the person who spoke English best, trying to do the translation.
Syntax is just a little bit off.
Just a little bit off. So what's significant there are the real quotes from Suarez. And again, that the absurdity of the suspension and having to avoid the paparazzi.
Yeah.
He's not totally wrong. And what's interesting is that he points out, and I think it's worth mentioning, that the hard tackles are much more dangerous overall to a guy's season, career. You can break a knee, you can break a leg, you can take out a knee. Nothing really happens when he bites people. It's just so odd and it's unseemly, but the injuries suffered by the other guys
are probably mental more than anything.
Right,
I can imagine Cellini wakes up in the middle of the night and has images of Suarez, who has very prominent fangs coming at him and biting him.
Suarez called it harmless.
Yes,
it's
so
relatively
let me read what Suarez actually said in this part of his autobiography. So a bite scares a lot of people, but it is relatively harmless, or at least the incidents in which I was involved were. That's not correct, because he did break skin when he bit his first time with Ajax. The guy was bleeding, so there you go. But then the footballer spoke of an extreme case to make clear that none of the bites were like Mike Tyson on Evander Holyfield, but no one cares about that.
By the way, everyone cared about that.
Yes, that's exactly.
Everyone cared tremendously about that. Yeah.
So I think he means that no one cares that his bites weren't as significant as Mike Tyson's bite on Evander Holyfield. Regardless of that, yes, Evander Holyfield's ear was bitten partly off. Suarez has then used this as somewhat of an excuse because the bites are not that harmful, that it's okay to continue to do it. What sort of message does that send across to young kids that read this book? I'm so interested. I will buy this book because I want to understand the frame of mind, what goes on in his head, and why he thinks that this is somewhat justified. The significance of this is he's trying to somewhat take away from the fact that he bit 3 times for a reason that on the basis that it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard of a bite. It didn't cause too much damage. It's ridiculous, right, Ben? Surely.
Yeah, I think right. I think what he's saying is ridiculous. He just doesn't get it. It suggests that he's a psychopath, which is too bad because his other points are like, hey, look, I've never done anything that really injured somebody significantly, and my teammates like me. All of these things appear to be true. His teammates do sort of like him. Yeah. Biting somebody 3 times and then writing a book where you say, oh, poor me, they're out to get me, and I've bitten somebody 3 times. Again, that suggests that he's a psychopath. Yes. I'll quote the end of the Deadspin piece here, which I think is Billy Hazley wrote this, and I think it's nice. But dude, then capitalized, you've bitten people 3 different times. There's not much sympathy to be won after that. You don't get it. Shut up.
Yes.
Shut up. Stop biting people.
Yes.
Ever. And it is unusual, and it is true the other injuries are more serious. Doesn't matter. You can't bite people.
Exactly. And the injuries of the other part are going most often than not. You do not see a player getting his leg broken way off the actual moment of the ball being there, right? People will get their leg broken when someone's trying to get the ball and maybe have an overzealous tackle that crunches him. Suarez bites are away from the plate. There's no ball there. It's not like he's fighting for the ball and he suddenly bites. He's done it on one occasion.
They're motivated by a psychopathic anger.
Yes, exactly.
That's not normal. So stop biting people.
Yes. So let's put a pin on this story for Suarez. Yes, the way he keeps trying to go over this and sugarcoat. Yes, he's trying to sugarcoat what he's saying about this. Let's not take it away. He's a fantastic player. I love to watch him play. He's going to do great things for Barcelona, but there is no justification for this. So please, Suarez, stop it.